Hello. This is the second part of my covering my 8 and 2 in the Mana Trader series. This is going to showcase two games because I recorded this before, and then the third game had some technical difficulties. I'm going to ask some of my more Mitgo endowed, in enamored people who know how to work Mitgo and replays and stuff. Because one of them is just not working. It's one of my losses. It's the first game that I believe I win with a good hand. And I remember it being a well played game. So it's kind of the thing I want to show off. Unfortunately, it isn't. The first game is not working. I have not checked the other two. I'm just going to do these two games, and I have actually watched them over this time because I watched them when I did this the first time without watching them. So unfortunately, I cannot blindly stumble my way through these games. These are both 2-0. First is going to be up against Rakdos Scam. This first game is kind of a joke. So first thing, blind keep. Gonna go see Pithy Needle, Doubles of Oz, Power Depot, Crack Crown, Ink Moth, Hangerback. Generally fine hand. Again, don't know what to be against. You do kind of lose to some things, but generally, like most decks, you're going to be really good just like slamming a hanger back and kind of existing. Definitely, there are better keeps with blind on the play. So whatever. Opponent mulligans to 5 makes you feel really good. He's in the play and doesn't play a land. I feel even better. Obviously, top deck forest. When you're any hand's good when your opponent doesn't keep a hand with lands. And this is actually a huge theme with this game. This guy is just going to not hit a land drop for the next like 4 turns. Um, it's kind of unfortunate, I guess, but really nothing you can do. It's pretty simple. Just yeah, draw Welding Jar, cast Welding Jar, attack, make Hangerback bigger. You'll be able to go Zabaz into things. You'll be able to sack the Power Depot and do two. Guy Grief for me takes my Pithing Needle. Like I don't really know what I'm going to. I guess I could name Bloodstained Mire, but like maybe it's Living End and he hasn't drawn a land. I don't know what he has in his hand or not. So nothing to really name with the Pithing Needle. Right here, make the Hangerback a 6/6. Really show off the power of Power Depot. Haha, get it? Power Depot is honestly a great card. Very slept on. I've been playing a lot of green blue builds in the past, and I'm just like, they're cool and all, but you don't have the space to play these tapped lands. And I was always not super high on Llanowar Reborn because it's all right, but entering tapped and just like you get to move over one counter sometimes. Right here, summon monologue hits the Fury. So hits a land, hits a Fury, goes kills the thing. I just let it die because there's practically no sequence of cards on his 3 cards that he's going to have that will kill 7 tokens. Like at absolute worst, he goes play Fury, like pitch Fury, and then Undying Malice the Fury, and then he gets 6 of the top tokens to regenerate one of them. And I'm still just in a really good spot, and he's just dead at 4 life. So obviously, game that over pretty quickly. Not keeping lands. I mean, I kept a pretty mediocre hand. Probably something I should have shipped, but I'm a lot more lenient with my hands on the play because I'd rather have the more cards and be able to draw into something. Because on a hand of like Hangerback and 2 Zabazes and a Power Depot, you draw Ravager, you draw Ozolith, you draw Scales, you're just really good spot. And especially just the Hangerback Zabaz combo of I'm going to have a thing that makes a bunch of dudes when it dies and be able to sacrifice it so you can't exile it or steal it. It was on to the next game. It goes similarly, for lack of just a little bit of spoilers here. Obviously, knowing I'm up against Rakdos Scam, going to affect my Mulligan decisions. Forest, Urza Saga, Hangerback Walker, and Urza Saga, like by far your best cards in this matchup. So that's really good. Basically, you see these two, you go, I have Blood Moon Protection, I have Blood Moon Protection, I have an Urza Saga, I have probably one of the best cards in this matchup. I have one of the best cards in this matchup. Plays the turn 1 Ragavan, which is actually going to change my playline. I'm going to play as the pause because I don't want to get turn 2 Blood Moon when my only land in hand is Urza Saga. Now, if I get turn 3 Blood Moon, I mean, it happens, but you're going to force him to use the removal spell, which is going to take him off of it. And also, you're wasting a removal spell on something that isn't a patchwork or a hangerback as I'm trying to set up with other scales. And yeah, here it's just going to be play the hangerback. Mainly not just to like grow it or anything, but just to block the Ragavan. And now he needs 2 pieces of removal he wants to get through, which is just really good. Just deny him the treasures. Yeah, good to see it. This is kind of where he starts to draw less lands, and of course, me. Oh, I didn't draw a land. I thought I drew a land here. You'd be like me, the luck sack I am, drew a land here. No, I just played under the patchwork. For some reason, sacks 3 land. I guess you can like can cast Crackling Doom or something. Doesn't end up doing anything. I'm just gonna pass back. Guy just does not draw lands from here on out, unfortunately. And going double patchwork and then drawing a dismember. That's one of the sideboard cards. The one thing that's tough with you just like voicing over the replays, it's kind of hard to talk about sideboard decisions, although this game is over right now, so I will go over sideboarding decisions. There isn't much of a choice for what to pick here. It's basically just like anything's pretty good. He's on 2 lands. I have a patchwork. Probably like animation module is the best. Does it like go through? I failed to find. Because the game's not playing. I definitely didn't fail to find it in the game. Yeah, I guess, yeah, the replays are sometimes a bit weird. Like, I just tap a forest here for no reason. I drop a Sage when I don't play it. I don't attack. So I think he concedes the game, but then the replay's just being weird. Either way, there's not much of a game here. As he just loses and, yeah, concedes. Yeah, that's that. Outside of this, if I go to my collection, my modern decks, I can. Yeah, thanks to Stan, is cool and made a deck that's really good. Orvar's just a tried and true staple of playing Magic the Gathering online. Creativity is a bitch. We don't like creativity here. It's honestly a fine matchup. I don't even think you need the Orvars. I really I don't have the mites. I don't know how to add a card I don't have, nor I don't build decks in this. I just take deck lists that other people build, or I import from Goldfish. I don't build decks. I don't make. But Orvar is pretty all right. I think clearly I could very easily see cut 2 Orvars, add Haywire Mite, something else. Don't really know what I'm looking at. What I want to try for the new set. Obviously Haywire Mite is insane. Either one inside or one main one side. Just a really, really nice card, especially with like Cauldrons and stuff. I still think Dismember is just like our best option ever for removal. I love this card so much. It hits so many things. Hits Scam, hits Murktide. Those are 2 big ones. Hammer. It's just a general all inclusive all around good card. If you ever find like I don't know somebody's playing Linvalas against you, it's happened before. You can just dismember it. Pretty good. When you're playing against Scam, I find that it's basically just like 4 dismembers in and like trim a Throne of Death, trim a Pithing Needle, trim an Ancient Stirrings, trim a Zabaz, and just kind of go from there. Obviously, the Tameo safekeeping is good, but Tameo safekeeping doesn't do anything as a top deck, and Rakdos Scam is going to win games where they strip your hand right away and then you top deck poorly. So taking out, say, like, you know, uh, Hangerback, for example, some matchups you'll trim like Hangerbacks or Patrick Automatons. Obviously, those are 2 really good cards in this matchup. Maybe like trim a Walking Ballista, although again, you trim Walking Ballista, you're going to get got by Gothy Voidwalker. There's also sort of a possibility of switching out Swelling Drive to Tameo safekeeping. I'm overall just not super huge on the Tameo safekeeping in the Rakdos Scam matchup. It's fine. It's all right. But I just want the 4 dismembers, and I don't really have that much I like cutting in this matchup. Obviously, really like 4 jars. Obviously, really like all the patches and the hangerbacks. So it's a tough matchup to sideboard 4. Back to my settings. The next game, I believe, is against this guy. This is Affinity. Affinity is an interesting matchup. There are 2 modes when it comes to playing against True Affinity. You either win, or your opponent plays a Hercules Recall. As I am 2-0, I think you can assume what happened. On the draw, playing blind. I see a hand of Inkmoth Nexus, Besage You, Inventor's Fair, Animation Module, Walking Ballista, Forest, Patchwork Automaton. This is a perfectly fine hand. It's got, a couple extra lands, probably more lands than you'd like to see, but it's got something that is really good for longevity grindy matchups. I mean, maybe I should have shipped it, but it's a perfectly fine hand. You've got a Patrick Automaton. What more could you ask for? An enabler? Maybe there's a saga. That's quitter talk. That's asking for too much. I think seeing the Missile Bridge is obviously just very clearly one deck. I think it's a slight misplay to not play the animation module first, because then you can go turn 2 Patrick Automaton, turn 3 Zabaz, and then activate module twice. And then yeah, so drawing the enabler here, Hardened Scales, just amazing. I know that my opponent is in no way, shape, or form going to be killing either of my creatures, nor countering any of my spells, so I can just stay with Hardened Scales, play the Patrick Automaton, and then go turn 3 Hardened Scales. So yeah, play land, animation module now, which is kind of awkward because it's now going to be can't activate it for any counters. But basically, with this sort of a hand against Affinity, you are just so far in a good spot. Walking Ballista is amazing against them because all of the little creatures that they're going to try and equip with things are just going to die to your Walking Ballista. Patrick Automaton obviously going to get a lot bigger than any of their creatures. And Inventor's Fair is showing its one usefulness. One only useful feature is gaining me like 2 life in this matchup. Opting to not pay for the animation module because I have this Passaggio up. So since I have a 5/5 Patrick Automaton, he has a 5/5 reinforced with Shadow Spear, so he's going to attack in, obviously, thinking it's free. And then I can just bop the spear. This is really funny. A reward, kids. You hate to see it. You hate to see it. Anyways, that's just kind of free. He just leaves it, leaves myself completely open. Interesting for Urza Saga. Just I have the opportunity to grind here. I have the opportunity to just spend as much time as I want setting up. He has 1 card in hand, assuming that obviously I need to finish the game out in a reasonable amount of time, because what I really don't need is him drawing a Hercules Recall and then I lose because I'm at 7 life. But basically, at this point, I'm going to start playing around Walking Ballista, and at any time, I'm going to just ping down his board and then take 0 damage. It is just a matter of time until he dies to Walking Ballista ping, just pinging down his entire board, attacking 7/7 Patchy, whatever's left on the Walking Ballista. So instead of making a bunch of 1/1s, taking the time to pay the 3 anti-animation module to put more counters on the Walking Ballista, obviously the boss being a 1 can get you to put an extra counter on the Walking Ballista. You can play around with a lot of counters, and opponent realizes he's just dead. 2 cards in hand, don't know what they are, but they're clearly not Hercules Recall. So just easy, good win. Actually, this is game 1. He doesn't have the Hercules Recall. Game 2. Game 2, I think I keep a slightly better hand. No, I don't. Of course not. It's an alright hand. Pythio is really big in this matchup. It can name a lot of their equipments. It can name Urza Saga. One of my favorite things to do in, like, okay, you don't see Saga Jund anymore, but going against Saga Jund, playing your Saga first, and then they don't activate their Saga in response to your trigger happening, so you find a needle off your Saga naming Saga, and then they get no tokens, and it's really funny. Passaggio obviously really nice for the Affinity matchup, leading on to Grow Pathway because green is just better. Drawing the Urza Saga is just really nice, and of course, Pith Needle is just really good to name Cranial Plating with. The only threat that my opponent poses to me with 1 card in hand is playing Hercules Recall or equipping the Cranial Plating to something, and he's not equipping the Cranial Plating to anything. He is going to attack in for 3. I'm going to make a Construct token, and he is going to waste his Aether Spellbomb. The Aether Spellbomb obviously being a great card that I choose to cut from all of my green-blue builds because I think it's funny. I'll do spicy things with green-blue later. For right now, obviously go grab the Ozlith, best card in the deck. Mine is maybe Hardened Scales or Arcane Ravager. But just have a really good, really solid playline here. Gonna actually use the Otawara to bounce the Pithy Needle, which is really interesting. Obviously, getting in the air is really powerful for him, especially hitting me down to 4. But what he doesn't realize is it's not going to do much for him. So here you go. Obviously, Walking Ballista on 1, no scales, kind of awkward. But you can go Zabaz into Zabaz, sack Zabaz to Zabaz, put a counter in the Ozlith, get a 4 for Walking Ballista, and then Besage the Saga, so he has no more construct tokens. At 0 cards in hand, he's basically dead. Walking Ballista on 4 counters, going to kill the Iron after on 2. Draws a Super Joiner's Companion. Probably better to keep that in hand, just to like bluff me out. But yeah, it's totally free to just like kill the creature that's attacking him, and killing it in combat's forcing the pause. Forget this pause button. Killing the cranial plating creature in combat is going to force him to pay 2 black to re-equip, which I guess with no cards in hand doesn't actually make much of a difference, but actually it does because he's forced to tap one of his creatures because he only has 1 black and it's 2 black to re-equip. And then obviously I block my construct token just because I'm fine to trade one of his creatures because right now I don't have a way to get a ton of counters on this walking ballista. Like obviously it's workable, and unless he draws something insane, this game is already over. But it's just good to you know get rid of some of the creatures with like a construct token that I don't need to kill him, assuming that I'm able to just keep grinding on this Urza Saga and Walking Ballista combo. And now it is just a matter of time before I end up with enough stuff to just like turn sideways at him. End up just holding back here, just playing it really safe. Which obviously, when your opponent has like a catch-all answer such as Hercule's Recall, or like just can draw into a bunch of fobs, Leyline Bindings, depending on the matchup, it's not the best to just wait around forever. Like I've lost games to Hammer because they go Reality Chip and start drawing cards, and I'm like, I'm too scared to go in for the Inkmoth kill because there's just a bunch of mana open. But the board's super stalled against the Hammer opponent, and they're not going to be doing anything except like draw cards and do things. I'm really debating attacking the creature here apparently, but it's just he has 1 card in hand. I have an active Saga. Gonna get something else. I have a Hardened Scales now. This game is well and truly over, as he concedes. There are just so many lines to victory here. You can grab another Zabaz off the Saga, putting more counters to the Walking Blows to ping down both of the creatures attacking in for lethal. Pretty much any top deck is just insane and brutal. You can make 2 construct tokens. Like, you're just blowing your opponent out of the water. As for sideboarding in this matchup, because I should show sideboarding as well. Sideboarding against Affinity is the easiest thing in the world. You see these 3, Nature's Claims. Love me some Nature's Claims. Great card. I've run anywhere from 3 to 5. With Haywire Might, I think it's going to be interesting. I like the 3 claim 1 might split. I really like having the ability to tutor up a Saga or Amulet or Leyline Binding or Leyline of the Void. Hate piece out of the board. Also, just having the 1 extra blocker if it's a main is like something people have talked about. I don't know how great that is. Is what it is, I guess. Other great thing against Affinity is Chalice of the Void. It's free to bring in, and just so many of their cards are just 0 drops. By so many, I mean usually 8, but it's fine. This is where Voidmir is really good because Voidmir is going to counter all of their Sojourner Companions. If they're paying 0 for them, they cast no mana. They spend no colored mana to cast that spell, and the spell will be countered. And you can't pay for a spell that costs 0, so it's just really good there. But generally, I don't think that Affinity is a hard enough matchup that I want Voidmirs in the board over the Chalice of the Voids. I think the Chalices, with their main use being against against Cascade decks, it is just really good to have those for grinders and such. I've also experimented bringing it against Hammer. Specifically, I was playing against someone who I thought was a blue white hammer or a mono white hammer deck because he was playing Memnites and stuff. So I'm like, oh, Chalice seems pretty good here, and it was just like a very light splash. It was a really weird list, but like the one of Chalice almost got me there. I ended up losing to some nut draws, but it is what it is. Anyways, I hope very much you all enjoyed. I have been talking through 4 games effectively because I've recorded the first 2, and then the third one started breaking. And obviously, I'm not going to edit these as I don't have an editing program yet, and that is a lot of time to spend on somebody who has to study for midterms. I don't know when I'm going to get the next video of this out, as I do have to also play more games in the Administrator series. But I think the replays last for a long time, so I will probably just record them when I feel like it, when I have time. It's a ton of fun just talking over these games. I wish I could edit stuff so that my thoughts were more concise. And I'll probably look into some sort of actual video editing software. If somebody has like a recommendation, feel free to comment it down below because I can tell people to do that now. And make sure to click the link in the description. There is one. I can probably put a link to this list on Goldfish. The problem with me linking lists on Goldfish is I will link a list and then I will change that list because I'm too lazy to just like copy it and make a new list for something. Like, oh, this is my most updated list. We're gonna use this one. Anyways, my insistent ramblings are going too far. Next matches will be as constructed. My 1-2, I actually lost a game against Mono or Red White Hammer, and I don't remember. I didn't look into it, but yeah, this game is like bugged. I'm gonna have to talk to a friend who knows a lot more about Mako to see if I can get that sorted out. And if not, I guess you'll just get to see the 2 lost games if those do work. Anyways, I hope everyone has a good day, night, evening, whatever you're having, afternoon, and just stay out there playing the best deck in the format. Hardened